The hollow of broken faith trapped the deep-water Titan toad half in the water. And that handed Leon Carte the field. It opened with a Titan iron water cannon and smashed 2 bone overlords into bone dust. It had lord-level strength, but Leon was already a king-level lifeform. And in Leviathan Tide Rider form, he ruled water. The moment Leon released that aura, the deep-water Titan toad tried to climb ashore, got pelted back into the pool by bone giants, and was rammed to death until the deep-sea Titan toad floated belly up. The Crystal Skeleton King joined Holy Bone Skeletons and Skeleton Knights in a summoning ritual, pulled the deep-sea Titan toad skeleton out of its corpse, and preserved its lord, undead power, and water control for Leon. Then the final stage of the deep-water Frogland ruins arrived. Before the boss appeared, kingly pressure descended. Leon met it with his own. Then the deep-water Toad King surfaced. Its exposed head alone rose 15 meters above the gloom-deep pool. Its body rivaled Leon's Leviathan Tide Rider form, and the pool was too cramped for dodging shield. The deep-water Toad King launched a Titan iron water cannon. Leon answered with an abyssal death maelstrom. The current bruised its whole body without reaching its organs or bones. So Leon's whole force moved. Ascendant bone overlords became 100-meter bone giants and pinned ID. Shadow Locust struck its exposed shadow with Shadow Needle. The halfling drake spears gathered lightning. The strongest half-drake kin forged it into a storm spear and hurled it. And the deep-water Toad King froze in paralysis for 5 seconds. Leon attacked immediately. Then a small Frost River Iron Steed unit forged a frostspike lance from cold air and drove it into the deep-water Toad King. The chill froze part of its cells, stirred its hibernation instinct, dulled its mind, and slowed its movements. Leon saw the weakness, ordered the Frost River Iron Steed not to stop, and kept attacking. Even so, it still took him a full hour to kill the deep-water Toad King. The clear reward gave Leon the Primal Reversion Rite, a permanent deep-water Frogland altar, and the deep-water Frogland trial grounds. The Primal Reversion Rite recorded how the deep-water Frogland returned to deep-water giant toad form while keeping intelligence and gaining ancestral bloodlines. Leon immediately thought of the half-drake kin. If they cultivated it, he could gain a true dragon legion. The cost would be enormous. He still wanted it. Then he and his troops were teleported out. Back at his haven shelter, Leon poured out the bones and bronze command tokens from the gloom-deep pool. The bones fed the skeleton race. The tokens upgraded altars. His light cavalry stream and dread cavalry stream, right-bound altars became eternal altars. The Frost Driver Iron Steed could now provide one 10,000-strong regiment each day with one hero commander. The Lord could now provide 10 Leviathan Tide Riders each day with one Lord Commander. Their growth fed power back into Leon, and he believed that when all 9 became eternal altars, he could step into the Emperor level within the War-Forged Dominion. He opened the Deepwater Frogland trial grounds, sold cheap tickets to Sanctum players, drew huge demand, gained another mass of corpses for skeleton summons, and made another large profit while the other 5 classmates ran the trials for free. 2 days later, the will of the War-Forged Dominion announced that the outsiders had angered it, and that it would crush them all. Daphne Morwen rushed over and said the third calamity no longer matched the information her brother had given her. Then Imperial Ascension Academy sent an emergency evacuation notice. The will of the War-Forged Dominion had been attacked by the will of the unknown civilization and had entered a frenzied state. Students could leave through an evacuation gate, but they had to abandon everything gained in the War-Forged Dominion. Students who had obtained the ninefold war form could not leave. Leon froze. Clarashaw froze with him. Most students chose to retreat. The 6 members of the Pocket Frontier Alliance opened a call. Ren Holomir chose to leave. Lucan Rivenshade chose to leave too, but demanded payment for resources he could not carry out. Marcus cursed him. Lucan threatened to dump everything into the sea. Leon offered 3 divinity by contract if he survived and returned. Lucan accepted. Ren took the same deal. Then Leon told Marcus and Daphne to go. Marcus refused. Leon and Clara were still here, so he would stay. Daphne could not stay. Her brother was waiting at home. She left all of her stored resources behind and stepped into the evacuation gate. Now only Leon, Clara, and Marcus remained in the pocket frontier. Then Marcus remembered the obvious. Resources. The students who were leaving could not take their stockpiles with them. The three of them entered the big group and spammed one line. Buying resource bundles. 2 divinity per bundle. Contracts supported. The call pushed many wavering students to decide. They retreated and sold. Others copied the same tactic. But Leon, Clara, and Marcus had already taken the early gain. When the evacuation gate closed, fewer than 1,000 students remained. Leon's side had collected more than 100 bundles of resources. They would have cost over 5,000 divinity in normal times. He took them for only 224. Clara proposed a new plan. Instead of raising 3 separate strongholds, they would stack everything onto Leon's haven shelter and build one super fortress. Marcus agreed. Before that, Marcus gathered the 9 troop lines he needed and completed the 9-fold warform. Thunderclouds covered 100 lie. He carried nearly all of their healing medicine and forced his way through the lightning tribulation. He survived and rose to king level. Then Leon upgraded. Because the will of the war-forged dominion had gone mad, popular support no longer blocked shelter upgrades. Only resources mattered. The haven shelter rose from Citadel City to County Stronghold, then Prefecture Citadel, then Capital Citadel. Level 14 demanded over 1 trillion. Clara and Marcus tore down their own haven shelters and converted them into resources. That closed the gap. Leon upgraded again. The Capital Citadel became a royal capital. The royal capital spread across the entire pocket frontier. A 50-meter rampart wall rose and sealed everything outside. The haven shelter recognized Leon as king. He named Clara Grand Marshal and Marcus High Chancellor. Then he used the remaining bronze command tokens, right-bound altars, and resources from more than 100 students to raise all 27 of their altars into eternal altars. The upgrades consumed almost everything. Leon drove skeletons into every facility to gather battle resources. Clara and Marcus deployed troops across the royal capital and filled the surrounding sea with Leviathan Tide Riders and Deepwater Froglin. Leon's enchanted map showed wild altars and relics in the nearby sea. He wanted them. He had no time. That evening, the disaster recognized by Sanctum civilization descended. The sky split open. Corruption black oil poured down. One fissure opened near Leon's shelter. The black oil touched the sea and turned it black. Fish swelled, grew limbs, and turned their bones into weapons. Shrimp expanded, stood upright, and lashed with whip-like whiskers. Every life form touched by the black oil became a creature that only knew slaughter. The Leviathan Tide Riders and Deepwater Froglin in the sea met the first wave and crushed it. The loot included fishbone blades, shrimp whip lashes, and many black corruption crystals. Allied troops could not absorb the crystals. Corrupted fish and shrimp could. Once they touched a crystal, they grew stronger. Leon ordered the front line to collect every crystal and deny them to the enemy. The black oil kept pouring. More sea turned black. More creatures mutated. Leon's side held more than 10 million troops through 30 eternal altars. Yet the pressure still rose. Marcus then raised the next problem. The dead fish shrimp aberrations in the sea were already beginning to rot. Plague would follow. His Vulcan kin could heal, but not against an endless plague field. Clara's thunder sparrows reported that more life forms across the war-forged dominion were being corrupted, and that more monster types would soon attack both local life forms and the trapped Sanctum players. Leon gave an order. Collect the corpses. Marcus asked if he meant to burn them. That would consume too much wood. Leon said no. He called them food. Clara understood first. Leon's swarm had devouring hunger. The shadow locust could grow by eating. With Devourer's dominion, they could grind through mountains of flesh. The corpses were piled onto open ground. Leon summoned 10,000 shadow locusts and sent them onto the heap. They devoured everything. The corruption black oil residue was hard to digest. Some had to stop. Some obeyed it until they burst. Leon activated Devourer's dominion over them all. Their digestion accelerated 100-fold. The corpse mountain shrank in plain sight. The shadow locusts swelled from fist-sized bodies to water vat sizing. Their armor thickened. Their muscles strengthened. They became a combined force of short blade, shield wall, bow cross, and dread cavalry. Leon also found that the corruption black oil residue was not digested. It gathered in each shadow locust's head and condensed into a black corruption crystal. That crystal could pollute other creatures. It could not affect the shadow locusts. They had no wisdom and followed only Leon's orders. That made them a direct counter to the invading civilization. After several days, the sea around the Haven shelter turned completely black. Some deep-water froglin and leviathan tide riders were corrupted and had to be killed. The three of them realized that if the contamination spread further, their fighting space would keep shrinking until defeat became certain. Other trapped elites across the war-forged dominion were already suffering plague. Their troops weakened and died. Most had to burn corpses to stop the spread. Wood prices in the group tripled and still stayed scarce. Marcus proposed a trade channel. They would collect monster corpses from the other elites, charge handling fees in resources, and let Leon's Gloombolt Shadow Locust lines process the dead. Leon agreed. The trade channel opened. A flood of corpses poured in. Marcus stacked them at the edge of the royal capital into a mound dozens of meters high. Leon used the paid resources through the Gloombolt Shadow Locust Eternal Altar to summon more troops. They devoured at full speed and barely kept up. Then Leon noticed a special group message. An elite of Metropolis Arcanum Institute had purged Bloom Fae under the Chirurgeon stream. They could purify corruption. Leon tried to buy them. She refused. Leon switched to barter. Had 100 Shadow Locusts for 1 Purge Bloom Fae. He obtained 1,000 of them. He placed the Purge Bloom Fae into the sea around the shelter. The dark water quickly turned blue again. The deep-water froglin recovered their battlefield. Marcus then found a mass of skyborne aberrations outside the shelter range with the Fairreach spyglass. The royal capital already had an answer. Clara. The army evolved from her Thunder Sparrows split across multiple troop lines. She led them into the sky and wiped out every skyborne aberration that entered range. Leon still did not relax. If the calamity ended here, Sanctum civilization would never have urged so many Academy elites to flee. He concluded that the real crisis had not appeared yet. On the 10th day of the calamity, Marcus turned the Fairreach spyglass toward the northwest and stopped. A huge fleet was approaching. Every ship carried soldiers. Every ship flew the banner of the Ashen Crown dynasty. Marcus called Leon to the wall. Leon looked across the Black Sea. Dozens of large ships cut through the corrupted water. Mutant aberrations attacked them. Protective barriers around the ships threw those attacks aside. The soldiers on deck fired arrows and killed the approaching monsters. Leon reached the only conclusion that fit. The Ashen Crown dynasty fleet had come for the pocket frontier. Marcus wondered if they had come to help. Leon rejected that at once. Even the will of the war-forged dominion called them outsiders. A native dynasty would not treat them better. Clara arrived. Leon ordered her to take the Thunder Sparrows and probe the fleet's purpose before it entered their waters. Clara transformed into a Thunder Sparrow and flew out with her escort. Soon she met the Ashen Crown dynasty above the ships. The commanders could tell she was not one of the invading monsters. They could also tell she was not native. Clara demanded their purpose. The commanders laughed. Several officers transformed into flying troop forms and surrounded her. They answered openly. They had come to carry out the decision of the will of the war-forged dominion. Drive out every outsider and restore peace to the war-forged dominion. If Leon's side did not leave, the Ashen Crown dynasty would bury them where they stood. Clara asked what would happen if they refused. An Ashen Crown dynasty general answered, then they would stay forever as corpses. The officers attacked immediately. Clara shifted into her strongest Doom Thunder Heavy Rider form. A giant Thunder Sparrow carried giant crossbow troops on its back. She fired shot after shot through the sky. Several generals were struck, and fell into the Black Sea. Clara seized the opening and returned to the royal capital with her escort. The Ashen Crown dynasty generals roared in fury and swore that they would flatten the pocket frontier.